everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, The Future of Home Contractor Websites. I'm really excited to be your host today. My name is Jenny. Steve's here as well, and he'll be helping us out with any of your questions throughout the webinar. So in case you're not as familiar with Surefire and who we are, we're located in Northern Virginia, and we help small businesses drive visibility through all channels on the web so they can continue to grow their business with ease. Our mission here is to educate businesses on a variety of topics to help you succeed and to help the industry grow. We want to know who you are too, so let us know where you're joining us from today, and you can do that using the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. A few quick reminders before I pass it over to Jeff. You'll get the recording of this chat on Thursday, and you can ask us questions, make comments, etc. in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. And because you're on the webinar with us right now, you have a chance to win the Google Home Hub that we'll be giving away at the end of today's talk. So stay tuned till the end, and that's when I'll be announcing the winner. So without further ado, today we have Jeff White, the Director of Customer Success here at Surefire Local, and he's got a really great presentation for you all. And so with that, I will pass it on over to Jeff.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. Buckle up. We're going to go over a great topic for you to understand how important your website is in your overall online presence. And we're going to walk through how technology has evolved to give you sort of some perspective of where we are today. We're also going to explain how your website is important, but it's not the only thing you need to be aware of, because it is an important component of your overall online presence, or what we like to call your digital footprint. And we'll get into more of that. And then we're going to drill into on the website and technology side as to why WordPress is one of the best platforms to be using for your website. And then we'll also share some tips to help optimize your website from a mobile, local, as well as a voice search standpoint. So, to get us started, let's take a walk down memory lane and understand how technology has changed and how that has impacted how the homeowners' journey or shopping process, how they interact online with local businesses, how that has changed. And if we go way back, essentially to the beginning, the internet was obviously new, but websites essentially were destinations. That's where you went for information or to do something. And the big change between how websites functioned early on in the history of the web versus today is that it's much more diversified as far as that information and the website as a destination. And we'll again dive into that of how that has changed. And then obviously as websites evolved, there became the advent of mobile and how mobile played, not just from a technology standpoint, but also in terms of how people interacted with websites and with businesses online. It wasn't just that desktop or laptop, but now it was based on that mobile device that they held in their hand and that we carry with us everywhere today. This led to a website not just having a site that was friendly when people were accessing via desktop and laptop, but literally websites had a mobile version that was created and designed so that it functioned nicely on a mobile device. And that mobile designed website eventually evolved to a mobile responsive, and then where we are today, which is that if you are up to date with best practice websites, you're back to a single website that seamlessly converts itself regardless of screen size. And we are in this mobile first world. So incredibly important to understand that evolution in terms of how a website needs to perform and what's important today based on mobile search and mobile users being the predominant way that people interact with a business. And then where we are today is at the cusp of something called artificial intelligence and voice search as far as how people are interacting with websites, and really more so with that digital footprint of a local business, whether it be interacting with Siri or a Google Home device or Alexa from Amazon. The idea of the spoken word as opposed to inputting a search term into a search engine is really a massive change in how we interact with online and in particular with local businesses. And so based on that, there are different aspects of your digital strategy and tactics that a potential customer is interacting with. And so it can be everything from an ad on Google. It can be your website, obviously, but it could also be a review. It could be a social site such as Facebook. And ultimately, what we want your prospects to do is to interact with you easily across the entire digital spectrum so that you are where your customers are, and that ultimately what they do is they raise their hand and say, hey, call me, based on interacting with you at any given point of your online presence or digital footprint. And so what we know is that today the homeowner's journey is complex, fragmented, multi-channel, multi-device, and hard to get a strong handle on what the ROI is. And what we mean by that, from a complex standpoint, is that more and more homeowners are relying on, not just online searching, but technology to help them find a home contractor that is near them. And from a fragmentation standpoint, it's not just a single channel that's helping them get to the information that they need to make a decision. And it's hard to find, that channel, one versus the other, because it's not just a search engine, but it's a search engine, any part of Google's ecosystem, whether it's Google Maps or Google's YouTube offering, but then it's other sites and other review sites such as Yelp, Houzz, Nextdoor, Angie's List. And then, of course, there's the whole social ecosystem. So, are you present on social? Are you active on social? And is your digital footprint a healthy combination of your website activity, your social activity, your directory listing activity, your review activity? So it's a pretty comprehensive and complex web that needs to be constantly cultivated and managed based on best practices today, so that you are where your potential customers are. And then back to the multi-device, right? So whether it was back originally when it was laptop, desktop, mobile device, and now we're getting to the voice devices, and now even to wrist-based devices. And so how do you know what's working? What led to that lead conversion? It just becomes much more complicated for the business owner, and that homeowner just has so many more options to interact with a local business. Incredibly important that you understand this so that you are poised to succeed in today's world. So some helpful statistics to understand what that customer journey is like. Specifically, 81% of website visitors think less of a business if that website is not fresh, if it's not up to date. And 39% of online users would think twice about using a product or service if that website isn't demonstrating that it's got fresh and current content. So what role does your website play in your overall online presence? In order to win today, you need to make sure that, first and foremost, you own your business's online identity. We'll get into that. You need to understand those different components of your online presence, all aspects of your digital footprint, as I mentioned. It's not just about your website, but it's everything across the spectrum. Your social, your directory listings, reviews, and so on. And then you need to have all that built so that you can reach your target audience, your homeowners who are in need of the services that you provide. And so it is important to think of your website as your online home, but also that it is an important foundational element of your digital footprint, but there's much more beyond your website to take care of. In terms of what that wider your digital footprint consists of, so it's your website combined with information related to your local business, such as your business name. Obviously, right, that's important, but The idea of your business name, your business phone number, and your business address, accurate and consistent across as much of the entire World Wide Web as possible, is a critical component in terms of your online visibility, in terms of making a good impression with Google, and in terms of getting local organic search traffic. Your reputation, so ratings and reviews. Do you have any? Are they good? Are you getting them consistently? That is also a major element of Google's ranking factors, as well as local visibility. And then back to your website and the content on it. So, do you have blogs being created on a regular basis? And are those blogs helpful to your target audience? And then being visual as it relates to your blog content, incorporating visuals of the products that you offer, including visuals of the projects that you are involved with, as far as having a nice robust photo gallery on your website showing off your work. And then visual is increasingly important, so be it photos or videos. Online profiles, also known as directory listings, going back to that business name, phone number, and address, or NAP information for your business name, your business address, and your phone number. NAP consistency across online directories is incredibly important. Google will take your Google My Business listing and compare it to 30 other online directories to see if your information, that NAP information, is accurate and consistent. Accuracy and consistency helps increase your overall visibility and Google giving you a thumbs up. And then advertising is also an element of your overall digital footprint, all that tied together with your website. So as far as that your website and how it functions, WordPress is something to be aware of, simply from the standpoint that it is one of the major, or actually is the major content management software out there. So the majority of websites are run on WordPress. WordPress is search engine friendly, and Google likes WordPress. So the idea of picking the right horse in terms of that content management software is incredibly important to you as a local business, and there are many advantages of WordPress. And one thing in particular that I'll share with you is that WordPress is easy to find resources for in terms of being able to manage it, being able to develop to it, and being able to host it. So it becomes quite flexible for you as a business owner if you choose WordPress as the content management software for your website. Some other things to look for is, do you own your domain, your URL, www.yourbusinessname.com? Is that something that you own and can easily manage? It's easy to kind of lose sight of that, based on, how it is created, where it's actually managed. So you need to make sure you've got your arms around that, and you don't lose sight of that. If your domain expires, it's something that can turn into a very bad day for you. So having somebody who understands that, how it interacts with your website, is very important. On your website, are you able to quickly and easily make changes? WordPress helps with that. And does it meet Google's best practices? We do know that, again, that Google sees WordPress as a very flexible, scalable, and easy to index type of system that hosts websites. So from all those standpoints, this is something that adds up to making a WordPress-based website something that's a good decision for you. So as mentioned, it is the most popular and widely used. It does allow for easy ownership and customization, easy to edit and update, and sends many good local signals to help with Google's search ranking algorithm. And to state the obvious, Google is constantly changing. So even though this search interface, if you're pulling it up on your phone or your laptop, It doesn't seem like it's changed too much. There's a lot that is changing on that back end and throughout Google's ecosystem. So not just on Google.com from a search standpoint, but Google My Business, YouTube, as well as various other aspects of Google's ecosystem. There's a lot going on and very important for you as a business owner to be aware of and keeping up with how Google is evolving. First and foremost, we live in a mobile-first world today. So within the past 12 months, searches via mobile devices surpassed laptops and desktops. And so Google sees the world from a mobile-first standpoint. Your website must be friendly for mobile visitors. And that not only serves Google customers well, meaning those that are searching on Google.com, but it serves you well. It's in your best interest as well because the majority of your visitors are mobile-based. You may not know that, but if you dig into the analytics, you will see a tremendous increase in mobile traffic to your website, and that's an important thing to understand. The other thing, going back to the customer journey, is as people are using mobile devices to do more online and to look for local businesses, one thing that surveys show is that waiting for slow pages, slow websites to load is one of the things that is absolutely disliked by people searching on their mobile devices. And 53% of visits are simply abandoned if a site takes too long to load. Specifically, more than 3 seconds, a mobile visitor is not going to hang around. And what's even scarier is that the average load time of a page on mobile is 24 seconds. So to not be aware of this particular element of your digital footprint and specifically your website, this is an important thing to understand and to make sure that you get right in order to be successful, not just today, but going forward. Because again, Google is measuring, monitoring, and rewarding local business websites that are mobile friendly. And if yours is performing better than your competitor, then Google is going to reward that with higher rankings, better search engine visibility. If we dig a little bit deeper into what are ranking factors for local search, and one thing to be aware of is that from a Google standpoint, we know that the majority of searches are on Google as opposed to other search engine sites such as Yahoo and Bing. We know that a majority of the searches on Google are mobile, as mentioned earlier. The other thing to be aware of is that the majority of mobile searches have local intent. So the idea of understanding local search ranking factors is another aspect to your website and your understanding your digital footprint in terms of strategy and tactics. So when we say what are important local ranking search factors, it covers these four main areas: recency, proximity, relevance, and prominence. And so let me step through each of these. In terms of recency, it goes back to that freshness of your website concept. So if you created a website and it launched a while ago and you have not added any content to it, it looks stale. So having recent content added to your website is important. Proximity as it relates to local search, pretty straightforward. If somebody is searching for a roofing contractor, and again, we're going to assume it's on a mobile device because that's the majority of searches are on mobile. More and more searches are not including where the geo modifier, meaning roofer near me or roofer in a particular town. That's a given. Mobile devices and the geographic location of that mobile device, Google knows that, and the searcher knows that Google knows that. So proximity plays a major factor. Relevance, again, pretty straightforward in that the search phrase is related to a product or service that you offer, and then prominence is the other factor rounding out the local search ranking factors. And relatively speaking, how prominent are your business related to others that do similar services? And that cuts across various aspects, such as online reputation, content in terms of how much content you have on your website, how old is your website, is it new or has it been around for years? Elements like that factor into the prominence of a local business. So, one thing to think about is, from your website, is to ask yourself, what's the main point of my website? Is my website for brand awareness? Is it for lead generation? Am I trying to educate my target audience? Am I trying to provide a particular customer service, or is it all of the above, a mix of the above? That's something to think about in terms of what you want to do with your website, if you're going to redesign it, how to improve it, and how to get the most out of your website. So think about that for a moment, and we're going to pause here for a break, and I'll come back on the other side of the break to continue the conversation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. So while Jeff takes a quick water break before he dives into the how-tos, Steve is going to launch a poll to see if you'd like to have a free consultation of your online presence, website analysis, and digital marketing. So you'll meet with an expert on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and if those days don't work for you, just please email me to pick a time, and we'll help organize the best time. So the poll's open. Take a second to answer it. It's a really great opportunity to discover how partnering with a digital marketing company can make a huge improvement in your marketing efforts. Okay, we're going to get the poll closed up here and hand it right back over to Jeff.
Thank you. And so one of the things to consider is, how can you optimize for mobile, local, and voice? These are also important things to consider based on where we are today with website management and an overall online digital footprint. So let's get into that topic. Here's a simple checklist to consider in terms of those different ways to interact with a website, a local business, in your digital footprint. I'd mentioned earlier NAP. So again, the name, the address, and the phone number of your business. This is something that needs to be consistent. So the idea of your business name, Inc., your business name, LLC, those are important elements of your business name to double check and make sure that you are using that consistently. Same with the address. If your business moved at some point, well, is that old address still on an online directory somewhere? If so, Google's scratching its head when it's taking a look at your business and where it lives, because it doesn't know the difference between an older address and a new address if you're not taking care of it in addressing any inconsistencies. And similar with the phone number. Call to actions are critically important if, based on that list of questions to ask yourself, is your website for generating leads? Then that call to action and how it's incorporated in your website is critical. And we'll get into that. Mobile optimization, as mentioned, we live in that mobile first world. So is your website mobile friendly? And then content. Are you consistently adding content? And then the idea of customer service as it relates to your website, users interacting with your website. Is your website sticky? Are people getting what they need when they come to your website? That also is a critical element and a factor from that feeds into your overall search visibility. And then the incorporation of local structured data. We'll get into that, but it's something that helps Google and the other search engines understand who you are, where you are, and what you do. So going in a little bit deeper, right? So that NAP information, you need it on your website. You need it added on your website in the right manner. So it needs to incorporate that schema. And that schema wrapped around your address is a way of raising your hand and saying, hey, Google, here's my location. Google says, oh, thank you very much for wrapping it in schema. I see where you are. And much easier for me to understand where you are in your physical location so that I can do a better job of showing you in Google Maps as an example. And back to that, whether or not there's incorrect information or inconsistent information, you're going to confuse Google, and Google is going to say, since I'm confused, I'm going to go take this other business where there's less confusion, and I'm going to rank them higher than you. From a call to action standpoint, some best practices are, making sure everything is visually clear, right? Where that call to action is on the page. The call to action is consistent, whether it's a form, whether it's a phone number, whether it's backed up by a specific promotion, backed up by reinforcers such as BBB logo, Angie's List awards, other awards that demonstrate that you are not only a high quality business but recognized across different organizations and certifications, all add up to, again, reinforcing on that call to action. And then as from a website management standpoint, that call to action on the front end, like I just walked through on that previous slide, you need to make sure under the hood that you've got that call to action set up in a way where you're able to track not only when that call to action is fired, if you will, from the standpoint of submitting a form or somebody calling the phone number that's listed on your website. You need to understand how many times people are interacting with those call to actions. You need to make sure that that call to action is consistent, so that the phone number is consistently in one place. That form, call to action form, is locked and persistent across the different pages of your website, from your home page to secondary pages. And then if you're incorporating, additional call to actions, such as an ebook, video, you want to have, sort of a visual weight associated with your main call to actions, and then a lesser visual weight to your secondary call to actions. And that call to action, as it relates to your phone number, has got to be easy to see, easy to click to call for that mobile visitor. And then when we're talking about your location, again, as an example, this is just a snapshot from one of our clients in the footer of their website. Right? The footer may not seem very important, but that address, as it's listed under, if you were to view source of that information, look under the hood, there is that that schema wrapped around that address, wrapped around that phone number, wrapped around those operating hours to, again, more easily communicate with Google the information that it's looking for. And it just so happens, right, that information is what appears on a Google My Business listing. So the more we can help Google, the more you, as a local business owner, and having a website, can help Google with things like being accurate with your location information, things like adding schema. That helps tell Google what's important about you, and helps Google deliver your information more easily in its search results. And so, as an example, this schema, also known as structured data, Google has many tools, one of which will help you understand, hey, does my website have structured data? And there's structured data as it relates to, again, your business name, address, and phone number, but there's also many other different types of schema and structured data that need to be incorporated with your website. And the more of it you have, the more of it Google sees and finds, the more of it helps get your local business, your website, indexed by Google. Revisiting that mobile first point. So again, another tool from Google is whether or not your website is mobile friendly. And so using Google's easy tools to see if your site is mobile friendly is important to check occasionally. We find that with a website that is actively managed and having content added and being developed and updated frequently, it is possible for the website to get heavier, or maybe new content added may have thrown off the mobile friendliness. So checking the mobile friendliness and page speed is important. The other thing that's helpful is going ahead and drilling into the analytics that are associated with your website. There's literally gold in this data. If you get in there and you take a look at where the traffic is coming from, is it in your specific geographic area? Are there other down to the town level, towns performing better than others? Is that an opportunity for you to jump on as a business owner because there's more demand in that area, or is there opportunity for you to jump on as a business owner to improve your visibility in a particular town? So again, there's a lot of actionable information that is contained in Google Analytics when you incorporate that into your website. Same thing with Google Search Console, another tool from Google, where there's rich information as far as how people are searching for you, how Google is indexing you and displaying you, your website. And so making sure you're aware of these tools and then able to get to the information that these tools provide, and then ideally take action on the information to help improve your overall website and online presence is another critical component as you manage your digital footprint. Everything from keywords that are being used to find you in search, and understanding what are generating the most clicks, what are generating the most impressions, and what are generating, position 1 through 10 on page 1 of Google. All that information is available to you when you've got your website set up and the right tools incorporated, measuring the activity associated with your website. Moving into things that are more relevant today as far as how Google is evolving and how homeowners are searching and optimizing for voice as well as digital assistance. A couple of high-level facts to understand, but that first up, soon by 2020, over 50% of all search will be voice. It was only the past year where the majority of searches are mobile, so we're going to see another major change very soon. As we are going to see the majority of searches via voice. The amount of search that is happening on Google, I think we're over 5.5 billion searches a day. And the other interesting fact about search activity on Google is that 15% of Google searches are absolutely brand new to Google. So it's not about trying to figure out which keywords to go for. It's about making sure that you're creating content that is specific to your target audience, because people are going to be able to create new ways to search for what they're looking for. And we'll get into that as well in a moment. And voice search is going to drive that. People aren't simply going to say roofer near me. They're going to be saying, hey, Google, what's my new roof going to look like, if I were to change it from shingle to metal. Those are the type of rich search phrases that are going to happen. And we are already seeing that over half of search phrases have more than four more search words. The near me searches spiked of late, and they're plateauing because again we don't need to tell Google near me anymore. Google just figures that out based on the mobile device and where you are. And again, in the form of questions is how searches are going to be delivered more and more, because people are going to simply say, hey, Google, how can I find the best roofer near me? And then visual is another element that's critically important. So whether it's on the photographic side, whether it's on the video side, the idea of visual search, and we see that on the social side with whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, how people are searching more and more from a visual standpoint as well as from a voice standpoint. One thing that we're doing for our customers is making sure as a best practice, speaking to the mobile first and mobile friendly point, is that speed is important. So accelerated mobile pages. This is a recent standard that has come from Google, and it's essentially a very lightweight version of a web page. And so what we have up on screen here is a blog article from our customer Hinkle Roofing, and what that looks like to a regular visitor. And then next to it is the AMP, or accelerated mobile page version of that same blog article. You'll see that it's lightweight visually, so there's less graphics, and this is meant to again meet the needs of Google's customers, those that are searching on mobile, and having a better online experience and interaction with your website, because Google will see that you've got an AMP version of a page on your website, and so instead of getting the heavier page, Google will serve that AMP lightweight page to its mobile visitor, and that mobile visitor will have a better experience on Google. Thank you, Google, for serving me that AMP page. It'll say, thank you, Hinkle Roofing, because I clicked on your link, the page loaded quickly, I got to the information that I wanted. So again, an example of how Google plus a website implementing best practices, mobile-friendly best practices, works today. The other thing to understand, also a recent development within the past 12 months, is the idea of security and privacy. So Google wants all websites to be HTTPS, and S stands for secure, and in the upper right, we've got an example of what that means. In Google's Chrome browser, if you are not using HTTPS, Google will simply give a message to visitors to your website that, hey, this website is not secure. You may not be asking for security type information such as credit cards. Google doesn't care anymore. The idea of an HTTPS website just means Google's more confident about you as a website owner, of how you're managing your website, that you are implementing best practices, which is a secure HTTPS website. And so back to that point about recency, right? And making sure that your information is up to date and constantly, consistently creating new content that Google sees, that you're not gathering dust with your website. That is an important signal to be sending Google. And some just closing out, some more important points to understand. We sometimes run into this where the idea of owning your domain and website is not a given. And what we mean by that is make sure that website address is yours. It's not something that somebody set up for you. Because if they did and they actually own it, your brand, your online identity could be held hostage by that. So you definitely want to make sure you own your domain, that website and the content is yours, that you've got 100% ownership and management of it, so that you do have that freedom to move it wherever you want. Move it to a better hosting environment, move it from one agency to another. The idea of that versatility, flexibility, and 100% ownership is critical to you as a local business. And then in general, when it comes to winning online, some takeaways that I want you to have is to make sure that you understand these points that we've covered in this presentation. That it's not about your website anymore. It is about your overall online digital footprint. That everything that I covered is a lot. You need to focus on running your business, so you need to make sure you are looking for the right partner that has your best interests in mind and that understand the landscape of the online world today and how to make sure you're poised for success in that online world. And then, keeping you focused on where it's best to spend your time, energy, effort, and dollars based on how Google is evolving, based on how homeowners are searching for businesses like yours, so that you are poised for success, not just for today, but also for what's coming down the road.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. Before we get into questions, we want to ask again if you'd like to have a free consultation on your online presence and a website analysis with one of our digital marketing experts on either Wednesday or Thursday of this week. The poll's open again, so you can pick a time if you didn't get a chance to the first time around. Just select, please email me to pick a time if those days don't work for you. And again, this is a really great opportunity for you to see how partnering with a digital marketing company can make a huge improvement in your marketing efforts. For example, Surefire Local helps you multiply your local marketing efforts by helping you see and strengthen all of your online activities from a single platform. And that's things like SEO, online ads, reviews, local listings, and social media. So we do have a question from the audience for you, Jeff. Orville is asking, do you have an example of a call to action that's mobile friendly?
So the simplest example is just to make sure that that phone number has the right code around it so that it is what we call click to call. And the other things around mobile friendly call to actions is that they are prominent. So just take a look at your website. Where does that phone number appear? Is it clickable? And you can tell just by clicking on it from your mobile device, and it should prompt you to click another button to dial directly that business.
Okay, great, thanks. And I see a couple questions about getting the slide presentation and a recording, and I just want to remind everyone we will be sending that information over to you all in an email on Thursday. So keep an eye on your inbox for that. So to close out today's presentation, today's lucky recipient of the Google Home Hub is Erin Jenkins. Congratulations, Erin. Please email marketing@surefirelocal.com with your full mailing address, and we'll ship that right out to you. So a huge thanks to Jeff and to all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us. I really hope you learned something new, and I look forward to seeing you online on our future webinars. Please take a minute to fill out the survey at the end and let us know how we did today and what topics you'd like to hear about in the future. We love checking out the topics you suggest when we plan our webinar schedule. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great day.